Now we're going to look at a short little chapter on Amoeba. Okay, it's a member of the Protistic kingdom. This is what we have to deal with. This is from the syllabus. We want to look at the 5 kingdom system of classification, and we're looking at Amoeba, which is an example of the Protistic kingdom. So here we are. Scientists have decided that we can divide living things into 5 main groups called kingdoms: the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the fungi kingdom, the Monera, which is the bacteria, and then I suppose everything else is put into the Protistic kingdom. Okay, if we look over here, the animal kingdom, these are all organisms that are multicellular. They're more than one cell. They're heterotrophs. They can't make their own food. They must eat other things. They don't have a cell wall. Okay, so those are the 3 main characteristics of all animals. Plants, they're multicellular as well. They have more than one cell. They're autotroph. They make their own food. Okay, they all photosynthesize. They use chlorophyll. They make their own food. They have cell walls made of cellulose, which is a type of polysaccharide. So all plants have these characteristics. Fungi have their own kingdom. These are mushrooms and mold and yeast. They can be multicellular or unicellular. They're heterotroph. That means they don't make their own food. They must feed on other organisms. It could be a parasite or a saprophyte. And very important, they have a cell wall made of chitin. So that makes them different from the cell wall of plants. The cell wall is chitin. It's a polysaccharide as well. In animals, do have chitin. Insects have an exoskeleton made from chitin. The protists, okay, these are a large group of different types of organisms, mostly unicellular, okay, mostly aquatic. They live in water. They have a nucleus, and many of them are simple plant-like organisms with no root, stem, or leaf. Examples now would be the seaweeds, which are uh, very simple organisms. They're plant-like. So the protists would be the algae and seaweeds and single-celled organisms. Now they have a nucleus. The prokaryotes, these are the cells that don't have a nucleus, and bacteria is the example. Bacteria don't have a nucleus. They have cell walls as well, but they're high in nitrogen, so it's known as a nitrogenous cell wall. So the bacteria are prokaryotes. All of the other kingdoms are eukaryotes. That means they have a nucleus. Animals, plants, fungi, and protists all have a nucleus. The prokaryotes, the bacteria, sometimes it's called the Monera kingdom. Okay, they don't have a nucleus. So I have it written over here, the Monera kingdom. Okay, there are prokaryotes here. Okay, now we're going to study an example of the Protistic kingdom. Okay, this is a single cell organism called amoeba. It's not an animal, it's not a plant. Okay, it's a single celled organism. Okay, it's a heterotroph. That means it can't make its own food. It must feed on other organisms. It's microscopic, less than a millimeter in size. You'd find it in ponds, wet soil. You'll find types of amoeba anywhere where there's moisture. Okay. How does it move? It moves using pseudopodia, which are false feet. Okay, so these structures here, they're called pseudopodia, and you can see cytoplasm can flow or move into the pseudopodia and help it move. So they move quite slowly, so they're moving across the field of view of the microscope. So the cytoplasm is flowing into the pseudopod, allowing it to move. They feed using the pseudopodia as well. The pseudopodia can surround some prey, a smaller organism, and take it into a food vacuole. Once inside the food vacuole, enzymes will break down the prey, break down the food, and the nutrients are reabsorbed. It simply reproduces by splitting in two. This is an ordinary cell division called mitosis. It does have a tendency to gain water by osmosis because the cell cytoplasm is low in water concentration compared to the surrounding fresh water, so water tends to move in by osmosis. It uses a contractile vacuole to remove excess water. Okay, we'll see that in a moment. Now, on feeding, and you might stop the slideshow at various times and take down what's on the screen. How does an amoeba feed? How does it get food? Well, it feeds on other microscopic creatures that are much smaller than it. So in this case, there's amoeba, and these are pseudopods that are going to flow around a piece of food. It could be a smaller protist or a smaller algae or a small microscopic creature. So the pseudopods flow around, and you can see here the creature is trapped inside the pseudopods. The pseudopods blend together. At this stage, it's trapped inside a vacuole. Once the prey is trapped inside a vacuole, enzymes are released into the vacuole. The prey or the food is digested, and the nutrients are absorbed into the cytoplasm. And it simply flows around its food, digests it, and absorbs it. Okay. Now, why does an amoeba burst like a red blood cell? Because it tends to gain water. Remember, we said it's gaining water by osmosis. Okay, that will cause the cell to expand, and there is a danger that it will burst. Amoeba have developed a special vacuole or structure inside called a contractile vacuole. All the excess water is collected by the contractile vacuole. The contractile vacuole gets bigger. Eventually, it will move towards the cell membrane, and all of that excess water is simply released. Okay, so it's a simple way of emptying excess water from the cell. This is a type of osmoregulation. Osmoregulation is the control of the water-salt balance. Okay, we have kidneys and the skin to control our water balance. Okay, amoeba has a contractile vacuole. Okay, just very quickly to look at a simple question. So this is a very simple topic, so it's unlikely to come up in a major part at higher level. So this is from the 2019 ordinary level exam. And these are the answers over here. So two single-cell organisms are shown below. Name the kingdom to which each belongs. So this is yeast, it's belonged to the kingdom fungi. This is amoeba, it's belonged to the Protista kingdom. Name the structures A and structure B. Structure A is a bud or a daughter cell, and structure B is a pseudopod, a false foot pseudopod. Name a structure that is present in both cells. Well, both cells would have a nucleus. Both cells would have a cell membrane. Give an example of the economic importance of yeast. Okay, yeast is used in brewing or baking. Those are the two main industries that use yeast cells. What is meant by the term saprophyte? Saprophyte, these are organisms that feed on dead organic matter. They're involved as decomposers. They break down dead organic matter. What's meant by a term parasite? A parasite feeds on a live host. Okay, and it causes harm. So important to say that the parasite causes harm. An example of a saprophyte would be rhizopus. An example of a parasite would be potato blight. Okay,